Hi. So last time we talked about some interview suggestions. Now, let's say you have the job or you're working in a job already. There are lots of things you can do to keep your job, and most of them are around relationship building stuff. But of course, there is clearly a component of being good at your job. I would say that you're much more likely to lose your job if you are bad at the relationship piece and you're still a good worker. Because at the end of the day, it's who wants to work with you and not always the nature of your output. So I wanted to provide just 10 tips on this. Most of these are in order of importance. Influence people and don't stand at odds with them. Sometimes when you're really passionate about an issue or you want to get something done, it's very easy to just plow through and say, I'm taking care of this, I know how to do it best. Why don't you take a back seat, right? But by not influencing someone, by running over them, you have now lost an ally to help you get what you want done, and you've potentially burned a bridge, which means that that person doesn't want to work with you in the future. It's probably more important than whatever temporary task that you're doing. Two is get to know people and do favors for them. I would say that this is important because the more favors you do for people, the more that they will want to do favors for you, and the more that they will remember those favors. That will certainly help you in the long run, but it also just make you some friends. Three, always stay connected to those people that leave the company, even if you only had small interactions with them. I found that LinkedIn is a great place to do this. You can add people that you're even mildly, you know, friends with in the Facebook sense. That's a good thing because you will be surprised that one, you'll eventually know people that work in your area in many different companies that are happy to recommend you, especially if the company you worked at was, rather small before. But two, it's just a good practice because I would say when people respect you, that word travels. And if they disrespect you or they think that you're not a good worker, that word also travels. So it's important to stay connected with those people so that, you know, if you need their help in the future, they're there for you. Build relationships with everyone in your direct reporting line. So not just your manager, but his manager, maybe even his manager. I wouldn't say do this unnaturally. I mean, you wouldn't go to them over your manager or skip the chain of command. But at the same time, you should make sure that you know those people and they have an understanding of what you do because if that information is trapped in your boss's head, they don't have an understanding of what you do on a daily basis, which means that they can't communicate that up. I would say be easy. I think that some of the most problems that I've seen in the work atmosphere are that people are just combative, either in their tone, their language, their desire to take on work, that sort of stuff. So do the best that you can to be easy. Work smart and hard. I think part of this is documentation. You should be documenting what you do. My company has a wiki, which is really helpful, but other companies have a SharePoint or even if it's just in a series of Word documents, it's much better than emails. It doesn't get lost as easily, and you can always send someone something, hey, here's how to do X, Y, or Z. And you would be surprised how well respected you will be when someone asks you for something that you've already done in the past. You don't have to go dig for it, and it's composed and written in a nice form. Know when to mix work and pleasure, and know when not to. There are often these quasi work events that are sometimes after work and could involve alcohol. I've seen some bad things happen when people realize that, or I guess don't realize, that what they're doing is interacting with all the people they work with. So it's not a really good time to get trashed. Choose your battles. There's some things that just aren't important. Even though they may minorly upset you, you have to learn to let some things go. I think in the end, you win with that strategy, especially because it is in line with some of my earlier tips in terms of influencing people. Have someone read your emails. Now, this is not read every email, but when you're sending emails to the VP and the SVP or directors even, you want to make sure that your language is very concise, that there's no room for misinterpretation. I think it's also important to, not throw people under the bus in those sorts of emails. To is very concise, that there's no room for misinterpretation. I think it's also important to not throw people under the bus in those sorts of emails. If there is something that they may be doing that you feel that you need to communicate upwards because you're not getting the help, try to talk with them first. You're going to have to continue to work with this person one-on-one, and even if the VP knows that something's not happening, it's not likely that either one of you will leave because of it, so it's best to work with them and just sort of communicate that maybe both of you need help. This is my favorite. When you're pissed off, talk to someone you trust. Don't do not send an email about it. Sit on it for a day or a weekend, because sleep does wonders. You would be surprised how many things you get over after you slept that don't bother you as much anymore. But if anything, you sleep on it and you decide, yes, this is still an important issue that I think needs to be communicated. You're at a level place to do it, especially at the end of the day when this stuff happens. Your mind is not able to process that as well. So I know that was a long video. Thanks for sticking through it, and I hope to see you again. Maybe that next time I won't be a floating head. Thanks again for watching.